Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over all of the college football stuff that's left, all of the big stuff that we have to talk about, like my playoff predictions, the playoff scenarios, conference championship games, New Year's Six Bowls, everything like that. I'm going to be going over all of that, and let's get started with the non-Power 5 conference championships. I know the American Conference is not in here. That is why it's like a bigger game than all of these. So I'm going to include it with the Power 5s. So let's get started with the Sun Belt Championship with the Appalachian State Mountaineers and the Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. I haven't watched much of these teams. I've watched like a couple Wednesday night games with Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, and Georgia State, Louisiana Lafayette. Only a couple of those. I'm gonna go with Louisiana on this one. Just because they just looked like a better team to me. And plus they're ranked, so I don't really know much about these teams. But I'm gonna go with Louisiana to take the Sun Belt Championship game. Now, Conference USA, we have Western Kentucky and UTSA. The Roadrunners lost their first game of the season to North Texas, which makes North Texas Bowl eligible. It just sucks for UTSA because they almost had a perfect undefeated season and they lost it. So I will pick UTSA to beat Western Kentucky because they have been playing phenomenal all season, other than that last game yesterday. But I will go with UTSA. Now the MAC championship. This is a weird one because none of these teams are that great. Kent State versus Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is 8-4. They have played decent. Kent State somehow squeaked into the MAC championship game. But I've only seen a couple of these games. So far from what I've seen, NIU looks like a better team. So I will go with the Huskies to take that one. Alright, now we have the Mountain West championship game. Now I've actually watched a couple of these games. I've watched San Diego State play because they were on a Friday. I've also watched Utah State play a couple of 3:30 games. For what I've seen, Utah State does not look like a great team. They're 9-3, which they're okay. But San Diego State has played amazing with Brady Hoke as their coach, and they've played phenomenal all season. So that is why I'm going to pick San Diego State to win the Mountain West. Alright, so now moving on to the next slide. Alright, now the American Conference Championship game. We have Cincinnati taking on Houston. This should be a really interesting matchup. Houston is 11-1 on the season and currently ranked 24th. Cincinnati is ranked 4th and they have not lost a game. Cincinnati has beaten Notre Dame, but they have been struggling lately. They've gotten it back together against East Carolina, which was a big win for them. But this should be a bigger challenge for Cincinnati. I am going to go with the Bearcats. It's a big game for Cincinnati because they can get into the playoffs if they win this game. So, since they have everything on the line right now, I am going to pick Cincinnati. I think they can get their things together and go to the playoffs and win the American. As for Houston, they'll fall 11-2. They'll still get a good bowl game, but they will not win the American. Alright, now to the ACC championship game. Alright, this is an interesting matchup. Doesn't mean much. Pitt versus Wake Forest. A little bit of a weird matchup that Clemson's not in it. But yeah, Wake Forest has had one of their best seasons in history. But Pitt has also had a really good season. The question is, can Wake Forest defense compete with Kenny Pickett and Pitt's offense? I think they can. I'm going to go with Wake Forest, but I could see Pitt winning this game easily. Alright, so next, the Pac-12 championship between Utah and Oregon. These two teams have already met in the regular season. Utah destroyed Oregon. Even though Oregon is ranked higher and have a better record, Utah looks like a better team. Now they've already played before. Utah won. I think Oregon is looking for some revenge. The winner will go to the Rose Bowl, and I think this Oregon team will get things together, and they will win their revenge game against Utah. This should be a good game. It's on a Friday night. Yeah, and I think Oregon will win this game. I'm very confident on this pick. All right, so next conference. So now we have a very interesting Big 12 championship game between Baylor and Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State came off a huge win against Oklahoma last night, which sent them to the Big 12 championship game, and they're going to be playing Baylor, who beat Oklahoma as well. So as of right now, Oklahoma State is not in the playoffs, but if they win this game, I think they have a really good shot at making it. So that is why I think they'll win this game. They're going to look at this and say, well, we have a good shot at making the playoffs, so we're going to really, really play our best this game and hopefully make the playoffs. So I like Oklahoma State in this game. Now I could see Baylor winning this because they kind of manhandled Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, they struggled. Now I know it was a rivalry game and everything, but yeah, Baylor played a lot better than Oklahoma State did against Oklahoma. Alright, but I'm still going to be picking the Cowboys to win this game. Now we have the Big Ten championship game between Michigan and Iowa. Now I could not find Iowa's logo, so I just had to put this one. But yeah, Michigan coming off a huge win against Ohio State to get to the Big Ten championship game, and Iowa beat Nebraska in a very, very close game. They were down 21-6, and they made a huge comeback. Now I think Michigan will struggle early in this game just because they came off that really big win against Ohio State, and teams tend to struggle after big wins. I still think Michigan will pull this one out, but it will be a lot closer than people think. I will go with Michigan, but yeah, really close game. So Michigan will make the playoffs. Now the SEC championship between Georgia and Alabama. This is the most hyped championship game. Now, looking at that Alabama-Auburn game, they should have lost that game. They didn't, but wow, it was a lot closer than it should have been. Now, I know it was rivalry games, and those are a lot closer than normal games. But, they should not be going to 4 overtimes with Auburn. And Georgia, they have manhandled every team they've played. And looking at that game they played against Auburn, I think Georgia will dominate Alabama. Just because Alabama almost ended that game with 3 points against Auburn. Most of their points came from overtime. So I'm going to go with Georgia here, and they will lock in that 1 seed in the playoffs. Alright, now here's my top 25 after week 13. So we have Georgia at 1, obviously, Michigan at 2 after that huge win against Ohio State, Alabama at 3, and Cincinnati at 4. I think these teams could be switched on Tuesday. I think Alabama will stay ahead of Cincinnati. We have Oklahoma State at 5 after beating Oklahoma. They will pass Notre Dame. Notre Dame at 6. Ohio State falls to 7. Ole Miss at 8 after that big win against Mississippi State. Baylor at 9. And Oregon moves up in the top 10. Michigan State at 11 after beating Penn State. Iowa to 12. BYU at 13. Pitt moves all the way up to 14. NC State 15. Oklahoma falls down to 16. Utah 17. Wake Forest at 18. Houston up to 19. Arkansas moves up to 20. San Diego State 21. Clemson up to 22. Louisiana at 23. Minnesota after beating Wisconsin at 24. And Wisconsin falls down 25. Now the notable losses, LSU beat Texas A&M. That is why they are not in the top 25. And Michigan beat Ohio State. That is why they fell. Oklahoma State defeated Oklahoma. And we talked about that Wisconsin Minnesota game. Minnesota also beat Wisconsin. So yeah. Now here for my playoff scenarios. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is Baylor down there at the bottom? Now, I'll explain that in a minute. But let's just get to the playoff scenarios. Now, the most popular opinion is probably Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, so they get the 1 seed. And Michigan wins against Iowa to get the 2 seed. And Cincinnati wins to get the 3. And Oklahoma State wins the Big 12 for the 4. So this is the most popular opinion, probably. This is my prediction, actually. So this is what I think the playoffs will be. But now the next one is Alabama beats Georgia. So that moves them out of the 1, and Bama would probably move to the 1. Michigan will stay there. Now that'll probably move Cincinnati out of the 3 and put Georgia in there if they lose to Bama. And Cincinnati will move down to the 4. So then we would have an Alabama-Cincinnati matchup. But now we have the next one, which is pretty unlikely, but we would have Oklahoma State losing the Big 12. Cincinnati loses the American, which would put Notre Dame in at the 4. This one is pretty unlikely. It's a lot more of a possible chance than what the other one is. Now here is why Baylor's here. Say Alabama loses to Georgia, so they would get the 1. Michigan loses to Iowa, so then Notre Dame doesn't have a championship game to play, so they would move to the 2. And then, who would be next? There's no other teams. Yeah, Oklahoma State would lose the Big 12, and Cincinnati would lose the American. So that would probably put Baylor at the 3. And then, who would be next? The highest rated team right now is Michigan, so it'd probably be Michigan. But I guess Ohio State could get in, but then Michigan would be 3 and Ohio State would be 4. Or Ole Miss or something like that. But this is a very unlikely playoff. Alright, so back to my prediction. I think Georgia will get 1. Michigan will get 2. Oklahoma State gets the 4. And Cincinnati gets the 3. I'm sorry. Now, I think Georgia will beat Oklahoma State. I think Michigan would beat Cincinnati. And Georgia would be the national champions. So yeah, that is what I think will happen in the playoffs. Let me know if you agree. So now let's get to the New Year's 6. So here are my New Year's 6 predictions. I'll talk about the Sugar Bowl and why Oklahoma is there. Alright, so the first is the Rose Bowl. Since I think Michigan will beat Iowa, I think Ohio State will get that Rose Bowl spot. And they'd play Oregon because I predicted them to beat Utah. So I think Ohio State will get their revenge on Oregon and beat them. And they will take the Rose Bowl. And then Alabama, Oklahoma. I guess it could be Baylor too, because they beat Oklahoma. So yeah, Baylor could be in it, but I think Alabama would win either way. So Bama takes the Sugar Bowl. Now we have Ole Miss against Michigan State in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. This is actually a very good game. But it will be interesting to see what Ole Miss defense can do against Kenneth Walker. But I think Ole Miss will get this one done. and win the Fiesta Bowl. Now Notre Dame versus Wake Forest. I have Wake Forest being the ACC champions. But I think Notre Dame will win either way, even if it is Pitt. So yeah, I think they will win the Peach Bowl. Those are my New Year's Six predictions. The other two games are obviously the playoffs, so that's why they're not there. I already gave you my playoff predictions. So yeah, that is my college football predictions for the remainder of the season. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, see ya.